What's up, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com, or, of course, we are watching on our fast-growing YouTube channel. That's Tar Heel Illustrated. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner, and joining me from Scott Stadium in Charlottesville, Virginia, our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And AJ, I think we just spent about might be a three things record trying to find a spot inside the Scott Stadium press box. I know we're in front of the bathrooms now. I had to go ahead and let people know.
Half hour. Seriously.
You gotta love it, man.
See, if this was tomorrow, it would actually be dark enough back there. I might be able to do it.
Yeah.
It's bright. So the spot we were trying to plural, we were trying to get, with the stadium in the backdrop, it's too bright.
Yeah.
So people couldn't really see me, which actually might drive up the numbers. If people can hear me but not see me, that actually might be better because, I have had a face for radio for each of the years of my existence here. So.
It was either this position or you just be a black blob on screen. So we went ahead and went with this one. But adversity never hurt anybody, AJ. We worked through it, and we're here to talk about Carolina's.
Always.
Yeah.
The number of photos you have.
We can make a podcast about just trying to find one.
Yeah, the number of photos you have of me sending you what my situation, my setup is, trying to do these things. Or remember, I did it on a trash can at Iowa for basketball. Remember that?
Yeah, I've got a list, man. I had to go back. Let me go back and
Kramer did a coffee table book on Seinfeld. We'll do an AJ's 3 things setup book.
Yeah, I think we could definitely do it, man. But AJ, we're here to talk about Carolina's 31-28 victory over Virginia. North Carolina proving to 8-1 on the season, 5-0 in ACC play, 5 road wins for the Tar Heels, first time since 1997. Mac Brown's first win in Charlottesville as well. So the curse that we talked about earlier this week, AJ, has officially been broken and proven to 1-6 all time in Charlottesville. Let's go ahead and talk about Drake and Josh. One of my favorite TV shows growing up. I know it's probably a little bit before or after your time, I should say, AJ. But great TV show. I really enjoyed when I was growing up. But the Drake and Josh connection was just deadly today, man. Drake Maye, 26 for 36, 367 total yards, 3 total TDs. And then Josh Downs, 15 catches, 166 yards, 1 touchdown, just 1 catch shy of tying the UNC single game record, which I believe Ryan Switzer and a couple other people hold. I think it's been set 3 times, but not too far from tying that record as well. But, that in a lot of ways was Carolina's offense. Elijah Green had a big game as well, 22 carries, 91 yards, 1 touchdown. But it seemed like at that wide receiver position, Josh Downs was Drake Maye's favorite guy to go to, and he delivered today. But those guys, once again, AJ, we talk about Drake Maye so many times. I feel like we talk about Josh Downs so many times as well. But just two must-have performances for them. And one of the reasons Carolina was able to narrowly escape in a way out of Charlottesville and get back home with a W.
I would say a lot of the Tar Heels didn't play their best games today. Max says, put it on film, put it on video.
Yeah.
If you want to show people who you are, put it on video. And a lot of guys probably aren't going to send today's clips off to the next level, and they want to showcase their abilities because it looked like some guys were off. Looked like the team was off early.
But
Drake and Josh are never off. They're so good. So we could talk about the full game numbers, but I'm going to highlight a sequence. It was right after Virginia went up 21-17 about midway through the third quarter, and Mac told Josh to make some plays. And Josh basically said, I'm paraphrasing, this isn't an exact quote, but you can see the interviews on our site, and we'll have in some stories. He basically said, I got you back. I got us. I'll take care of it. And on that next drive, I think Josh caught at least 3 passes. He caught the touchdown pass, and he caught 5 passes in the third quarter, 4 passes after Virginia took the lead for, close to like 75 yards or something like that. He's such a good possession receiver. One of the catches on that drive was a 3rd and 10 or a 3rd and 9, and he just beat defenders. Like they had 3 dudes, they had 6 eyeballs on him, but he still gets lost. Guys still lose him, and he did that on that drive. And what you saw on that drive were 2 great college football players stepping up and being great for their team. Teams win games, but teams need great players at certain moments to step up and be great and just say, okay, come on, let me take you for a little bit here. And that's what Drake and Josh did on that series. And that's kind of what they did throughout the day, because Antoine Green had a rough day. Mm-hmm. He had a drop touchdown, and then there was another pass on Carolina's first possession Drake was throwing to John Copenhaver in the end zone, and Antoine kind of came in and put a hand on the ball. Would have been a touchdown to Copenhaver, but it was incomplete. They ended up settling for a field goal. So it wasn't Antoine Green's best day. That happens. The running game with Elijah was okay, but I think they knew that I don't think this team's going to be running the ball 45 times a game conventionally. They need to throw a lot. They need to get their stars involved. And it was Josh's day today. He was a possession guy. He was a big play guy. He had one right over the middle. I'm looking down right where it was on the field here, where he cut right. And I think if he would have cut back, he would have gone about 55 yards per score. He was so close to it. He had the punt return that he was nearly close to it. The punter tackled him. And I asked him, I said, did he tackle you or did he just get in your way? And he kind of thought about it and said, I probably better be nice, and said, oh, he kind of tackled me, I guess. I'll have to see it on film. So Josh had a huge day. He's a great player, great college player. Max said he's one of the best he's ever coached the position, one of the toughest he's ever coached the position, and Drake is too. And in fact, kudos to Drake as I sidebar here for a moment. He had a play where he ran down to about the 2-yard line. I think it was in the first half. And a month and a half ago, he would have jumped in the air.
Oh, yeah.
He tried to dive into the end zone.
No
I asked him, I said, did you think about it? He said, yeah, I thought about it. I would have a while ago, but I'm not now. So if people are looking for subtle examples of Drake's growth during the course of the season, there's one right there as well. So they were phenomenal. The numbers, I don't know how many times Josh was targeted. I know that at one point, Drake had thrown 27 passes and Josh was targeted 13 times. I don't know what the final numbers were, but sometimes you just got to hop on a couple horses and ride them. And we talked about that during our football show earlier this week about hopping, or maybe it was in our post game last week after Pittsburgh. They have some horses here. So sometimes if you're in a tussle or all the parts aren't totally in sync, you just got to go to those horses and say, okay, take us home. And they did enough. They did enough to get the win, Jacob.
Yeah. That's all that really matters in the day. And like I said, it seems like this team kind of has a knack for finding ways to win. Hence why it's 8-1 and undefeated in ACC play 5 games in. So you got to give them credit. And like you said, getting one of those guys and just going with them, it's a luxury that Carolina has guys and has multiple guys on offense that they've been able to rely on this year. Drake Maye, Antoine Green, Josh Downs, sometimes both of them at the same time. So yeah, magnificent from Josh Downs and a really good day for Drake Maye as well after a pretty slow start from Carolina, particularly in that first half. But if they've proven anything this year, it's that they've been a second half team, to say the least. So let's move on and talk about the defense. Up and down once again. It's never a great day when you let up 28 points to a Virginia team that coming into this game hadn't scored more than 20 points against an FBS team this season. So Carolina doing that once again, making a pretty average quarterback this year, and it was fantastic last year, looked pretty dang good again, and making an offense that was missing. Let's not forget 3 wide receivers and a starting running back, all 4 of those guys missing. So defense was a bit up and down. I thought Storm Duck had a really nice game. A couple of stats that throw you over 240 yards at the half for Virginia. And like I said a few minutes ago, it's the first time UVA scored more than 20 points against an FBS team this year. But credit to the defense in the second half. Mac Brown talked about it either in his post-game press conference or on the radio show. I can't remember where I heard it, where he was a little bit frustrated, not really at the defense towards the end of the game, but at the offense. The defense made some really nice stops in the fourth quarter late, and the offense comes back on the field and would go 3-4 and out. It wasn't good enough from the offense. They weren't able to kind of get in sync late in the game, and hence why, UVA was able to cut it to 3 pretty late. So flat performance from Carolina as a whole, defensively and offensively in the first half, even more so the defense. Need to cut out some of those big plays that allowed towards the end of the game UVA to cut it 2-3 in the first place and force an onside kick situation. But I think that was a little bit of a combination of the offense and defense just not playing well at the same time. But just up and down defensively, AJ. We've talked about it a lot this year, but again, making plays when it mattered and being able to hold Virginia. So you got to give them a little bit of credit in that respect.
We talked, I think, on the football show. I know we certainly talked about it when we didn't have the record button on, but the way I was going to gauge the defense's performance today was what UVA did based on what UVA usually does. Mm-hmm. So if Carolina were to have played a lot of teams today, 419 yards is not great, but these days you can give up 419 and 28, you're okay, right? 25 first downs or whatever it was. It's not great, but it's maybe winnable with this offense. But UVA shattered its first down mark against Power 5 teams. It's most it had in a game against Power 5 teams, and it had 6 of those contests coming in, or 19. Last week against Miami, they had 14. They were 116th in the country, 116 in the country in converting on third down. At one point, they were 6 of 9. This is the same team that was 0 for 15 on third down at Illinois.
Oh, Jesus.
And they were missing their starters. Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the same highly touted bunch that we saw in Chapel Hill last year, and guys that will get looked at very much so in the NFL. So their total yards, they were 419. That's the most this year for UVA against the Power 5 team. The first downs, 25 versus 19, the most against the Power 5 team. The points, 28 versus 20, the most against the Power 5 team. And then their third down conversions, they ended up 7 for 13 for a team that came in averaging 31.5%. Also in the red zone, at one point UVA was 3 for 3 scoring in the red zone. I think they finished 4 for 4. And they were near the bottom of the nation scoring in the red zone as well. So I think based on that, it was not a good performance by the defense. And I know that Mac's gonna try to, paint a nice little picture there because they got to win. You're not going to dump on your team. He'll address things privately that he's not going to address publicly because I think it's a concerning effort, to be perfectly honest with you, as well as Storm Duck played. There were some times he got beat. I do think Storm played a lot better. You're going to get beat sometimes. Yeah. But Cedric Grace said that they were doing some things that maybe they hadn't prepared for. And UVA kind of messed them up a little bit by changing from huddling to going tempo in the same possession. And you could see where a couple times when they went tempo, they didn't let Carolina sub when they maybe had a right kind of lineup on the field. Because remember, Carolina had some guys playing snaps today in the first half that haven't played as much in the past. Kamen Rucker was playing Jack a lot. Yeah. Kedrick Beasley-Jones was in there. So, UVA was trying to exploit that, and kudos to UVA for trying something different and doing that. So credit the defense for getting the turnover, credit the defense for making a series of stops in the second half that allowed the Tar Heels to go on 21-7 run, if you will, and quite frankly, put him in position where if the offense would have handled late game offense well and gotten some points and used a little bit more clock, this thing would at the very least been 31-21 and maybe more than that. They really should have at least gotten field goals. It should have been 37-21, but the offense didn't do its job late. So the defense did make enough plays to win games. Cedric Gray is always really, really good. But Jacob, if you would have said before the game, you're going to give up these numbers to this offense as much as it's struggled, and it's without its starting 3 wide receivers and tailback and stuff, most people would have said, well, that's terrible. So I'm not going to say it's terrible. I don't think that's fair, but the defense needs to be better than it was today. And next week's going to be a totally different animal in Winston-Salem. So 9 games in, I think it's fair to say it's not a very good defense. They do have a knack for making plays at the right time. They do make enough plays for this team to win games. That's why they're 8-1. But moving forward with Wake and then State 2 weeks after that, and then probably Clemson and Charlotte, they must play significantly better in those games in order to win than they did today.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Not a great day defensively, but like you said, we'll got to give them credit for making some stops and making some plays when they did. Cedric Gray, you mentioned him, led the team in tackles as well. Another big game, 16 tackles for him, led the way for the Tar Heels. All right, AJ, let's talk about what this means, as we always do. Again, Carolina undefeated in the Coastal. Win over Wake Forest does seal the Coastal Division for North Carolina. Interesting week coming up. Obviously, it's going to be a tough game in Winston-Salem. Duke and Georgia Tech, the 2 teams behind them. Georgia Tech beating Virginia Tech, and obviously Duke winning over Boston College. So that Georgia Tech game, if the Carolina does lose and Georgia Tech beats Miami next week, could be a pretty interesting one in Chapel Hill the following week.
Georgia Tech came back and beat Virginia Tech?
Yep, they did. No.
Okay, because when I went down to the press conference, I think it was 27-16.
Yeah, I think it did 28-27 Georgia Tech. Yep. So that's Virginia Tech is struggling. Yeah, to say the least.
2 worst teams in the ACC are in the Commonwealth.
I know. Yeah, you're 100% right. It's a fact. Go look at the ACC standings. Wow. But yeah, so that game could be interesting in a couple of weeks if, Carolina does lose to Wake, which I know Carolina fans got to be feeling confident right now, but it's a very real possibility with how good Wake Forest has been this year. They do play.
All UNC has to do is win one more conference game and they win exactly. The Coastal. Doesn't matter how everything else plays out. They win one more in the league, they're Coastal champs. Yep.
All that needs one more. And like I said, that could be next week over Wake. So sitting pretty, the team continues to find ways to win. another really good record with 5 road wins for the first time since 1997. Like, and Mac Brown said, these kids weren't even born in 1997 last time this happened. So after going, 0-6 on the road last year. So some really good positives to take, some things Carolina still needs to work on, some things that they need to improve on, even as an 8-win team right now. But again, like you just said, AJ, one more win seals the Coastal Division for North Carolina. And I think if somebody would have told you a year ago that Carolina was going to be 8-1 and 5-0 in ACC play, I don't know if they would have believed this, AJ, but that's exactly where the Tar Heels sit.
It is where they sit, and they deserve a lot of the credit, because there's one thing that is an absolute with this team, and we've talked about this, that a lot of fans are going to pick at some of the things that don't go right. And in my 5 takeaways today, I'm going to pick on a couple of things. Those stats we were just beating up a minute ago, I'm going to put them in there because they're relevant. However, there's a culture here. Max says they're a player-led team, and I don't think they came out supercharged up today. And it's human nature. You're not going to be at maximum readiness every time you step on the field. Some people are like, well, they only play 12 games a year. How is that possible? Well, because they're human beings, and they also play football in some variety 46 weeks out of the year. So it's going to happen. Human nature is totally present on the athletics fields and courts. So that, I think, was the case today. But they do have a really good culture, because they're able to fix things during the course of games. And I think that that's really important. They learned a lot when they were in Boone. So much didn't go well, and they allowed it to snowball. They didn't fix it. They fixed some stuff at Georgia State. A lot of people thought that was insignificant, but it wasn't, because the season is a layering factor, Jacob. Each game is a chapter. Like I said, it's a book, but you layer performances. And every time you add another layer to it, you're more entrenched with who you are. So while this defense gives up catastrophic plays, they give up a lot of chunk plays, they don't make a lot of game-changing plays. They do make enough plays that with their offense, because it is a team, they're able to win games. When people rank clubs, and when they say, well, that club ought to beat that club, so often we fixate on what a team doesn't do well. Mm-hmm. And instead of just the aggregate of the whole, right? The sum of all the parts. And as good as this offense is, and as good as Drake is, and as good as Josh is, and as good as Antoine usually is, and Elijah Green hits the hole hard, I think that he's got that job for the rest of the year, barring injury. The offense is really good. Generally speaking, the protection up front, either in run block or pass protection, is good enough. So the defense, as you have said so many times, they just got to be average, maybe not even entirely average. Just be pretty good in stretches, give the offense a chance to win games. That's who they are. And I don't think that's going to change. They're going to get a lot of important reps for individuals and as a group that they'll be able to take in the offseason, and next year have a chance to be really, really good. I don't see them going to Winston-Salem and, hold Wake to 17 points. I just don't see that happening. No. Because they didn't hold – Virginia had 28. I mean, when Carolina's up 31-21 and the offense failed to put it away, that's when the defense needs to step up and get a stop. Mm-hmm. And they didn't. Virginia went, 70 yards on 7 plays and used 59 seconds, got in the end zone, and then had an onside kick situation. So there's a reason why us on Press Row, who cover North Carolina, when UVA got the ball and people were leaving, he's like, these people shouldn't leave. This game's not over yet.
Yeah, it's not over. They didn't watch Carolina games this year.
So as long as that's part of Carolina's identity, it's good that they win for them, because it says something about a team that when they are in positions to blow a game and they don't blow them, that's a good sign for that team. Mm-hmm. It means they have a lot of intangibles, a lot of character, all that kind of stuff. But they've got to get away from that. They've got to take a step to a place where they're not in that position. They're not in a position to have to recover an onside kick. They're not in a position where fans shouldn't leave because this game isn't over yet. But that's what they've been in, 7 of their 9 games, basically. Mm-hmm. 6 of their 9 games. FAMU doesn't really count. They blew out Virginia Tech, and they made it sort of respectable against Notre Dame, but Notre Dame was totally in control of that game in the fourth quarter. So you got to credit Mac for the culture that he started embedding in this program in December 2018. I think we're seeing it now. Mm-hmm. And when the culture and the talent consistently at a certain level together, then you have a really good team and a really good program. They're trending in that direction, but they got a lot of stuff to clean up. But because they have good culture, I've said culture like 8 times now, because they have good culture, because they have good chemistry, because they have really good player-led team, they have a chance to make some of these improvements, but it's going to be really hard to see this defense be anything other than average at best moving forward. So you ask, what does it mean? I think it means a lot. There's a lot of directions we can go with this. They just got to keep winning.
Yeah.
And you know what? If they win out, then someone's got to put them somewhere in the postseason. Whether, I don't know what that's going to be. Orange Bowl, maybe. I think this program would love to go back to the Orange Bowl, either as the ACC champ or as the ACC runner-up.
Yeah.
That would be a big-time positive for them. So what does this mean? We'll talk a lot more about that probably the night of December 30th from the Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
Yeah. You're probably not lying about that. Yeah, but it's a big-time win. It wasn't pretty. It was Carolina that worked pretty hard for it too, but finding a way to win. And like we've talked about in this podcast a few times, that's just something this team has. So credit to them. 31-28 win in Scott Stadium over UVA for the number 17 ranked Tar Heels. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. We'll go ahead and run for AJ gets kicked out of the press box in approximately in 1 hour. I
have an hour and 16 minutes left. So I'm going to get my stuff done and drive home. So
and that's what happens with post-game interviews. Take an hour and a half.
I may end up just getting a hotel just so
putting that out there. Yeah, I don't blame you, especially now because that's about a 3-hour drive? I've done it before with you. I should know. 3.5?
3:10, 3:15.
Okay. Yeah, that could be a little tricky, especially when you haven't even started riding yet. But AJ, we'll let you go. So
I have got some things done, but I got to piece it all together.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good.
You know how it is. You know how I am. It's going to be another 3 hours.
I get it, man. I totally get it, man. But I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Make sure y'all keep it locked to see AJ's work from tonight, as obviously he'll be getting on that right after this. Keep it locked to RLillustrated.com and our YouTube channel as well. You can go see all the post-game interviews from Charlottesville on our YouTube channels. Click the link below. We appreciate you watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to that notification bell as well. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks.